How do you feel now?
Powerful watch 2 minutes of breathing and intentionality, what that can do to you and your system, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get out of our heads and into our bodies.
Just be with the
Yeah.
sensations and just, it's I think something we need to do on a regular basis with our overstimulated world is just to drop back into our hearts, drop back into the body, out of the head into the heart, more and more.
But how do you do that, Ruby?
Well, once I start feeling myself thinking and thoughts just flowing around, it's kind of like clouds. I'm like, thank you, that's fine. And then I just feel into this heart space. I feel energetically into here and I breathe into this space. So it's like heart coherence breathing and feeling and expand and visualize. And I have quite a strong visual eye. So that works quite well for me is the visualizations as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That can be very helpful for some practices. I find visualization helps me as well. I love to look at waves when I do try to meditate. It's almost as though the waves are representing my busy mind and then it's slowing down to calm into
Yeah.
still.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful.
You can work different ways for different people, and I'd love to learn more about what works for you. So, Ruby Chapman, thank you for joining today on this our episode, third episode here for Beyond Wellness podcast. I'm so happy and grateful that you are here today to join us, and would love to learn more about you as well as the work that you've been involved in and your contributions to society. And so, from my understanding, you're an award-winning interior designer. You are a Reiki master. You practice yoga, sound healing, qigong, breathwork, meditation, semantic works, as well as you being a creative and a poet. But outside of all of these, sorry?
Lots of hats. Yeah.
But outside of all of this, how would your friends know you, your closest people around you? How would they know Ruby Chapman?
Well, first of all, I'll just say thank you so much as well for inviting me on. And this is a privilege and an honor to be here with you as well. It's something that I've wanted to get more into more and more. So it's funny when the universe brings into fruition what it is from both sides. So yeah, really appreciate you contacting me. Now, in answer to your question, I guess it's a difficult thing to say because everyone has different perceptions based on who they are. But what I would hope that they would think of me, if I think about words that people use when they talk about me, I guess to me anyway, is that, just there's a sweetness there. I try to be as open-hearted, as authentic as I can with my relationships, with my friendships, with how I move through life. I'm a very feeling being. I'm very emotionally connected, and sometimes that can come off in a way of maybe being too sensitive or too deep. But I think it's the most beautiful way because you're receiving so much more from your life experience. So creative, I'm expressive, I would also say I'm an experiencer. I have this drive in me that it's kind of not even me. It's this like driving behind force that's like making me go and do things and put myself out of comfort zones, and that's for my own personal evolution. So yeah, I guess that's how I would imagine people would explain me. Yeah.
Lovely. And so you're an experiencer. And when you say that, you mean by you like to place yourself to experience, or you enjoy experiencing things?
I receive so much from putting myself in different environments or things that I don't know I want to know. So there's this part of me that really drives me to want to go skydiving, or want to go do a 10-day silent retreat, or put myself in things that are slightly uncomfortable because I know where my edges are. And so, you know, even just coming and living here in Peru, yeah, it's like when you realize that you're the one that creates your own boundaries. There's this thing in me that just wants to experience and learn from all those things and get all that bit of information and start to put in my own conceptualities of what things are, what life is, how things work. And so that's kind of what drives me to kind of live the life that I've been living these last years, especially.
Well, that's really brave, because some people can look at this as though it could be a challenge, right? But then you think of it as an experience. You're very open-minded and curious to try these things. Were you always like this growing up as a teenager? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what you're like as a teenager. It's kind of like you're just a bit unhinged in some cases. So think of that, but think of a teenage version. You could probably get yourself into some certain scenarios and situations, which is where really learning. That's what you do when you become from a child to now you're a sovereign being, is learning. And so you got to make a lot of mistakes, which I did. To be honest, I did get quite deep into rebelling and going out to raves when I was 15, going underage to clubs, you know, just doing some pretty crazy things. But it's all part of, I think that has shaped me, because you've picked up on more information. It's the way I see it. Like, your soul's gone out into the world. I finished school when I was 16 as well. So I think there was this thing in me that was just really wanting to move forward and like go out, you know? So yeah, I think it's an innate part of me. Yeah. Even as a child as well. Yeah.
So you finished school when you were 16. Does that mean you started working right away?
Yeah, I was a hustler. I Even from being a teenager, I was like finding ways of being like, how could I make money? I'm going to make caramel slice and sell it to the the school. And just that mentality was already there. I'm assuming there's like stuff to do with relationship with money and things that you pick up on from your family and your upbringing, whatever. But I was quite driven by that. Like that sense of security as well through saving money and that type of thing. But yeah, I finished school and I went and did graphic design, but it was not what I needed as a creative at that stage of myself. It was way too much computer tech things, and it was taking me away from like my way of experiencing creativity. So I didn't really stick with that. But at the same time, I was like probably working like 3 jobs or something, Baker's Delight, a clothing shop, hospitality, just kind of like getting amongst all the things and really, yeah, it was a busy time those first few years from finishing school, just trying to figure out things and just move along and just, bump into stuff and just go with what that is at that age, really.
But you were still working. So most people at that age might be spending time with friends and trying different hobbies or sports, but here you are working. So, and dabbling 3 different roles as well at the same time. So that goes to show your work ethic.
Yeah, look, I wouldn't call it a work ethic. I would call it more of like an internal drive to like feel independent through making money, feel independent in general, maybe have a sense of like control or, I think I was just really driven by wanting to make money, and then that created more freedom. I think that's probably what it was. I haven't really thought about this, to be honest, but it feels like it's like I was wanting to create independency and freedom in certain categories of my life. In other ways, I was suffering through other things like an eating disorder and some stuff like that, which was like very unfree and very controlling. And so it's like, yeah, I must have been I think I really pushed myself. I was going really against what's not innately me and my energetic system. But you don't know these things at that age. So you're just kind of like, unconsciously doing stuff. Don't know why you're doing certain actions.
But it's so interesting because in that moment you were really taking matters into your own hands. So you weren't allowing anyone else to do it for you. But you don't realize this in the moment, like you said, because you're just working through the experience. But then you look back and it all makes sense because that character is who you are today, and it's in your DNA. And I think it's just going to come around full circle of how you evolve as a person and in how you contribute as well. But it's so interesting hearing about your upbringing and your story in that sense.
Yeah, it's like everything. I feel it becomes a full circle. I've been doing also some work with a coach at the moment, which does subconscious reprogramming, and to go through this whole journey and see the starting points of where you started creating these belief systems that then really are driving your whole perception of your choices, your actions, your relationships, your everything really. It's the basis of why and how and what you're doing in the world. And to go back and to understand all these little bits and see now how it's like projected into your life now, and what it was that you were needing then, and it's like coming out in what you have chosen to do as a career and this path and that path. It's really quite fascinating to go on that journey and to really come back to yourself as well, realizing that, oh, that's not actually, that's not who I am. That's not what I need. It was just I was trying to fulfill something in myself. And that's why I chose XYZ. That's why you choose a certain partner. And that's why. So anyway, it's been a really beautiful full circle round to get where I am right now, which is much more living in alignment. Yeah.
Cherish every single moment because it's all been building blocks towards you. Just read, what does it say? Cherish every moment.
I got that when I was maybe like 17 or something. So yes, cherish every moment.
And I didn't see that tattoo. I've never seen that tattoo.
You just picked up.
Yes, because it's all been building blocks for you to come back to you. And so from there, your career, I mean, you worked through a few different roles in your teens, and then you went into graphic design, but that wasn't for you because it was quite technical, like you were saying. You were more creative, and then somehow you rounded up towards interior design. So how was that transition?
Well, in between that, I actually worked, which is, it does actually fit somewhat some elements of myself because, there's an array of who we are. There's lots of different parts, and they all want to come out to play and be seen in different ways and experienced. But I was, in a sales role for nearly 8 years, selling life insurance and selling funeral insurance. I was doing outbound sales. I was doing income protection. I was just like, I went deep into my abilities with networking and my opportunist personality and my social abilities. So, and what was really the thing about that was you get great money. So it was a driving force of like commission based, and it's up to you. You're the one driving yourself. So that really like captured onto something about me. And it was a place for me to try to prove myself to myself. When you have actually a lot of insecurities and low self-esteem, and on a subliminal unconscious level feeling like you're not worthy, you're not good enough, all these things, self-critical, hard on yourself, all the stuff that's very draining on your system. This was an environment that kind of I latched onto because it was feeding that thing in me, and it was really like I learned so much. I think it was an amazing part of the journey because you do pick up on a lot of skills and you do learn aspects of confidence and again, like I was saying, those edges and those boundaries and really putting yourself out there. So I really thrived in it. Not to brag because I don't care for it at all, but like I came first every single month for like 8 years. So I had like an extreme And it was really helpful, like being that age and making that money really was a huge support. So like in the scheme of things, it was really awesome. But as I grew up a little bit more over time, I'm like, this is actually killing my soul. This I just was, and there was control as well, and I need complete freedom. So it just got over time. It felt confining, and it wasn't using my creativity. And I guess the big thing that shifted me into interior design to continue my journey was my dad passed away when I was 22. And so that really, really shook my world fully, which I can expand into this because it's pretty big. But that gave me the financial freedom to actually decide, what do I actually want to do? Like I have a bit of space now, like I still need to work, but at least it's actually giving me such a beautiful opportunity to really take a step in a different direction and giving me that space. It gave me space to consider. And so, I had some time off and then did a job which was not suitable. And then I actually came into interior design.
Wow, it's incredible how such a major life event had to take place for you to stop and question, ask yourself, like, is this really what I want to do? And it wasn't, which is why you then took a pivot.
Yeah,
So
pivot.
next steps from there.
Yeah. So, and like you just mentioned, sometimes it does take something really big. Like sometimes people don't start caring about their health until they get cancer, or until, sometimes in relationship, they're not evaluating really where things are at until the person leaves. So it's kind of like, that's where people have like a reality check, like something snaps you out and you step back a bit or something happens and it kind of like shakes you. So it shook me in difficult but the most beautiful ways as well. But still, based on like the career path, it happened really, really. It was just so organic. The way things flow is so fantastic because my partner, I was with Ray since I was 18 as well. And throughout those years, he ended up getting into being a project manager for homes, so building. And so I just kind of like naturally slipped into that as well because he was already starting to do some stuff and having a business partner and building some homes. So I started doing that. I worked with a bathroom company. And then I started doing my own projects. And so, my creativity hat was really kind of, strongly on and really loving that exploration. And it felt so much more aligned. It was a really beautiful transition to something much more suited. But over that period from once my dad passed, I was also very much to the same extent doing my own self-discovery into the spiritual realm. Into starting to learn and understand myself and consider the world on a bigger scale and asking all the huge, the existential questions that don't have answers. You start to get into all that. So kind of like as I did interior design stuff, I was also really going on a really deep personal journey as well. So that's why it's kind of they are both intertwined at the same time, which has led to Zensi now, which is the wellness retreat. Yeah.
And so how old were you at the time when your dad had passed?
I was 22.
And if you don't mind me asking, what was the reason behind his passing?
Yeah, so he had a heart attack. He definitely didn't look after himself at all. But just, feeling back into that moment where you get that phone call is shattering. Big. That in itself was just, it's like you just, as a 22-year-old, I had experienced a lot in life and considered lots of things. I would say I was quite, I was a contemplative child. I would be out in nature a lot and I'd watch sunsets. So I was like, I was quite, in my experience, but being at that age when you're just busy moving through life, doing lots of stuff, and that's just the way life is. You don't even know anything different. So to have something like that shatter your sense of reality, like someone could just go, what does this all mean? what's the point of all this? And so that really, and it was a very difficult process too, because I didn't get to grieve because it became a court issue. And so it was very messy. And, but it was honestly the most profound and special thing that's occurred as well, because it's led me to where I am now. It forced me to find my practices. Like, I knew at that point I need something, like, so I started getting into meditation, and that's where I really started my journey of like knowing what a nervous system is and just really getting into it. And also the fact it gave me this financial flexibility that I was able to really venture into all these things as well, and take that pivot. So it's also been so special at the same time. Everything has a beautiful lesson behind it, so as challenging as those can be.
Absolutely. And I suppose it helps to have people who are either going through the same experience or finding people who are interested in similar interests that can help you get through these moments, as hard as it is. I can't say I know what you were feeling in the moment, but from that I can imagine how you were questioning everything. And from that moment, I was also just trying to understand where your interest from health and well-being comes into play. And perhaps this was something that really made you passionate because you care so much about this person, your father. And so it made you more aware and conscious about your own well-being as well, and how people take care of themselves, or how you can be of service to other people to help themselves. And correct me if I'm wrong, but what really led you on your wellness journey aside from your spiritual journey?
So in essence, I would say of how opposite I was with wellness. I, from quite a young age, had a disordered eating, a dysmorphia view of myself, and so my relationship with my body, my relationship with who I am, and I know that so many girls and women, and even more now that society is getting even more, just so much tech and social media and expectations and all of that, so much more. It's just so much more in your face with comparisons and trying to feel like you're someone or something. So yeah, it started really, really young, and my perception of myself was just so rough. And so, yeah, my relationship with food and my relationship with exercise as I became a teenager was very, very unhealthy. And just not listening, not at all in relation with my body. There was like I was against my body. We were separate beings at that point. I was not liking my body. If it put on a kilo, I would be, and I'd go in the gym every day. Even after I'd go out partying, I'd still go to the gym the next day and like push myself with body attack and all these things. I was not at all listening to her at all. So I think that was knowing how far I was from what, and I knew at the time, I'm like, can I keep doing this forever? Like, is this a long lasting thing? I don't know if this is healthy. But, when you're young, you just, you're caring about what you look like and how much validation you can get or how loved you can be through like what you think is through your physical, to your physical self or who you are. So yeah, that was really pretty tough times. And also then like being a teenager and getting into like the party scene and which was like, yeah, a bit of fun, but also knowing that there's an escapism there is a not caring about your body in any way, but also then feeling the guilt the next day because deep down, like, there's this, you have the inner being inside you. I feel like there's you, and then there's this thing kind of like experiencing and just being the observer and the watcher of it all. And so I always knew it was there, but I wasn't in a communicative relationship with that part of me yet. It wasn't fully conscious, but in the background, when I kind of feel back into it all, it was there with me the whole time. And so, yeah, I think once my dad passed and I had this kind of like bit of a revelation with life, that really started to spur the things. That started me doing meditation, and it started out with just being 15 minutes outside, and that would be like, yes. I remember when I first started doing yoga. I started yoga when I was maybe like 19 or 20 or something, but I used to walk out when it got to Shavasana. I used to leave because I wasn't burning calories and I have other things to do and I got to get to work and la la la. So yeah, it's so funny to stop and to really just like look back at who was I at that, what version was I, and that's where I was at that point within myself. But there was always a driving force because I want to experience things. And so once I started getting into meditation and then started to like pick up on, oh, like this is a new thing, like this is a foreign place. Oh, my body is buzzing, or having like some deep experiences, which kind of like makes you think, there's something else here. There's more to this than what I knew before. And so, yeah, that kind of continued. It was just a really beautiful, gradual process of eventually staying in Shavasana. Eventually, I was always really, really deeply related and connected with nature. So I spent even more time out just in nature and actually just spending a bit more time by myself. I think that's a really integral part of every aspect of our journey, is just stepping away from others and just learning to start to get comfortable being in your own space. And this is where, when you slow down, you can begin to hear a bit more. You can start to sense and experience what it's like being in your body, and just creating a bit of space is what that does. So that definitely was supportive of the whole of all those years. And then what else kind of came into it? Yeah, like different things. Like I did start to work with psilocybin mushrooms. So that was then another really big, like, wow, okay, there's way more to life than what I even realized before. Holy shit. And so that was, and that's where I really started to hear what I would call like the voice. It would be the messages that were whispering throughout my life. This time they were now shouting. Whether I was ready to act on them is different, but I was now becoming conscious. I feel like the awakening, starting to question and query and start to understand myself in relation to the world, and start to think on things on a bigger scale. Just like I look around right now into the mountains and the clouds, and just knowing and like thinking about space, like you start to think about what is this human experience. So it really, that started to like come into the play of it all. And then what was a really big stage was coming into energy work. Like you mentioned as well, Sharon, you've done Reiki, you've done some Reiki courses and such.
Yeah. So I've completed my master, up until my master in Reiki as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but I haven't been disciplined with my practice. So it's more something I need to be more proactive in, but I definitely have an awareness of the practice, which I think has been so beneficial for me in the way I carry myself in life and how I do things and why I do it. Yeah.
Did you feel that it really, because for me personally, it just, I'm like, oh, there's a whole different dimension to this, to what we're doing here. I'm like, oh, everything's energy. I'm like, oh, this is magic. Life is magic. So yeah, did you kind of what was that like as well, just for you, out of curiosity?
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, when I'm touching someone, when I'm close to someone, I'm just a lot more intentional and a lot more aware. So before I would carry on as usual, whereas now I just have this awareness that I'm a lot more mindful of how I carry myself and how I'm interacting with other people. I'm a lot more aware of my senses as well. I can tap into my sensory quite easily now. And also just with the knowledge and the wisdom that I've learned from the practice itself, it's given me a better understanding of how to hone yourself into this space, but also how to think of life. For example, if it's a physical object, whether it's a transferable form of communication, it could be lots of different forms of communication. So it's mindful of how you can channel this energy of life force itself, and that's what it is. It's really just life force. Its energy is its motion. It's in motion. It's energy in motion. In energy, emotion is energy in motion, and so it's allowing ourselves to let this energy flow through us, and that could be through emotions. It could be through different objects of people and forms of communication, but it's just having this attention towards the energy, which allows the energy to. There's a saying. It says something like, "Where attention goes, energy flows." So whether you are aware of this, you'll be mindful of how you live every day. Whether
Yeah.
you focus on a certain part of energy, that's where your energy will naturally flow, and without it becoming the framework or the practice itself, or thinking about it as in a practice, when we think about it is as what we focus on. So the red car theory, you think of the red car and you see it in a more practical sense. That could be another example. So energy is so fascinating, and yet it is all around us, and there's only so much we know, and there's so much more that we don't know. But at the same time, like, it's changed your life, it's changed my life, and how we interact with each other, and emotions are incredible. And it's just and I mean, not to get carried away, but it's such an interesting and a topic I'm so passionate about, Ruby. So.
Oh, look, we could probably do a 5-hour podcast on this about energy, because it's everything. Everything is energy. The whole
Yes,
universe is made up of it.
that's right.
But yeah. Thank you for sharing. It is like when you start to realize that everything's also intentional. So everything that you're doing is about intentions, and also that it is all a frequency. Every single thing has a frequential resonance, and so when you can start to tap into that and understand everything on that level, even like you're mentioning about emotions, they all hold a different frequency. And then once you get into Reiki and understanding ourselves as an energetic being, you just realize that it's very it's expansive, because you know that you are so much more than just, this physical thing. And what you're experiencing in emotion, it holds weight, and so when you can learn to utilize it, and this is where I'm kind of have been tapping into and working with a lot, is manifestation. Because whether we are conscious of it or not, we are manifesting, right? A lot of us don't realize, and a lot of the time I'm not always conscious, but you are consciously, you're always communicating out into the field, the quantum field. So whether it's the words you say, the thoughts, so how it works, I see it as a layer of like the most impactful thing out into the field is our actions, because that's the most physical thing when we're relating to it all. So our actions are very, very important. Our words next are also important, because we're putting out, and our words are also intentional. They also hold a resonance in what it's portraying, and the belief behind it all. It, as they say, like, our words cast spells. So what we're saying is super important, but also just what we're thinking and feeling as a vibrational being. So, on that sense, that's why it's like energetic hygiene, because we don't want to be telling our energy field, telling the quantum field that we don't think that we should get that job, or that we're worthy of love, or that, you know, it's dangerous, or there's a fear in doing certain things in life. So it's just really becoming very very conscious and aware of, like, what are we thinking, what do we really feel, and what are our belief systems. And so that's why, yeah, I've just noticed so much change in myself with working with this subconscious coach, Clay Harrop. I can put some details to you after, but yeah, just realizing that we are forming it all ourselves. So let's try to do it as consciously as possible. So yeah, it's all the world of energy.
It is. No, I love that. And I'm really glad you brought up this topic, because it is. And you're right, it has changed my life since I actually learnt about it as well. And it's a very traditional practice that has been around for a very
Yeah.
long time. And I mean, I'm not sure which practice you learnt and which framework yours was based on. The one that I learnt was based on the Japanese tradition. So was yours similar?
Yes, yeah. With a
And
shati. Do you know a shati?
Ashanti, no, no. And so
That's okay. That's all right.
is that a
big in Australia. They do the course is including Reiki, but then it's also just general energetic works. So you know, playing around with mediumship, like also playing with just other forms of energetic healing and stuff. So that was really fun, because when you realize that, oh, this isn't, you know, we all have different skill sets and different aspects of abilities in that realm, but it's innately what we are as humans. It's like we're no more special than anyone else that would be listening to this. It's just that the way I like to think of it is like when you have an app on your phone, but you have not updated that app since you got it. So it's like, you know, it's not up to scratch. You can't use the app, but it's still in you. It's still in your blueprint, and it really is innately what we are. And so, yeah, it's just about kind of it's like a muscle. It is reusing it and working more on it. And but yeah, some people have more. It's more natural than others, but it is all us. We all have abilities to tap into. You know, this, and it's proved through things like quantum entanglement and amazing, like the telepathy tapes. And there's just so much proof out there if you're willing to be open to it, because it might shift your belief systems or your sense of reality if you were to open to it. So it's like, how open can you be to being like, hey, if that's real, then what else is? Like, if that's possible, then anything's possible. So yeah, it's a big journey going into that realm.
It is. And so this shifted your perspective on a lot of how
Fully.
you move forward. And so it changed your life incredibly. And so what next after that?
What next after that? Well, I got married. So yeah, so and between all those different bits and pieces, I was like still dabbling in lots of things, like, you know, really deepening into breath work, which has been such a pivotal shift for me as well. It's probably the practice I engage with the most is breath work. So breath work came in, exploring sound therapy, and that's again frequency. So that came into the picture when I did my energy, getting into the energy work. And knowing that that's like subtly shifting things within us and helping on like the brain level as well with brain waves. And so yeah, lots of fun exploring, lots of continuation, lots of though dark nights of the soul, and which is kind of like when you go through, I guess they call it like an ego death of like, again, questioning who am I, and going into these different roles. And then I think like more and more learning what truth is, but then not really actioning it yet, doing more things in alignment, but also things that are not. So it's like that. It was a continuation as it just kind of pushed and pulled a little bit on my own personal healing. I would call it the healing path. And then, yeah. And so we got married, and then we were just like, what do we what should we do? We want to do an investment together. My husband he's gifted and skilled in what he's able to do, which is so much. He's a great organizer, so ambitious, so driven, extremely driven. And so our skills together, he's like the logic, we get it done, A to B guy. And then I'm the creative, like la going everywhere. So bringing it all together though, it was like a really great combination. And so we, had lots of ideas, and we're like, oh, that, it didn't feel like it was maximizing or like utilizing ourselves as much as it could be. And then somehow we decided that we should build a like wellness, base it more on wellness. So we were thinking of doing like lots of villas on a beautiful property and have them a bit more wellness space. And then it shifted to actually being a house, and then it having a wellness space fully attached, dedicated to wellness with the villa. And so it just kind of like all evolved from there. But it continued to be more and more in alignment as that continued, because I was more in that path myself, working and exploring like the holistic realm and dabbling in that so much more by that stage. So kind of was like a bit of everything. Like we'd also done a heap of traveling, really, we're taking our experiences, our skills, and like with my own personal journey, kind of like came into this beautiful offering, which is what Zensi is now, I guess.
Yeah, and so part of the pivot was based on you recognizing that you also needed to make a change, and so that's also ties into why you decided to focus on the wellness aspect with Zensi as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And but how did you recognize that you needed to make a change? Did you notice something in your body? What made you more aware in that moment?
The change of doing something more wellness based, you mean, with what we're creating, or just like general process?
More on your healing journey.
Mm-hmm. As you become more self-aware and more conscious, you're in a communication of your body. Like, it was such a huge process of actually coming into union with my body. And I remember there was this one moment where I was doing yoga, and I can't even explain. A lot of things are just like, you can't necessarily put words to it, but it was like we'd become one again. And it was just like, oh, I've missed you. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. And like, it was just so powerful to be like, wow, I'm so sorry for everything that I've put you through. Like let's be together. Like, let's join forces. We don't have to be against each other anymore. Like, I want to look after you. It's like, so it's really just learning it's that journey of coming home to yourself. And in that, it's like, you're noticing more on what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And to answer kind of a bit of your question there about how do you feel that, for me, I think everyone is slightly different in how they interact or communicate with themselves. But for me, it's more of like hearing the whispers and hearing what feels like guidance and what feels like a higher intelligence, or your higher self, as they call it, being like, that's not right. Or like, hey, this is really not supportive. Like, you having this eating disorder thing is making you feel confined. It's not, this is not supportive of you. And so, you're just like listening to these bits, and you try to act more and more, and continuing to choose and listen bit by bit. But it is difficult because, the things that, if you do listen to some of those guidance, it is a bit scary, because it might change what that means for your life in that stage. It might be like, oh, I'm not resonating with what I'm doing, or that person, or I don't want to be in this environment, or this doesn't feel good. And so it's just like starting to be aware, and you may not be ready to action or voice it, but it's just the art, I call it an art of beginning to notice is where it is, the art of beginning to notice. And then depending on how you are in your relationship with your body, because it took me, I was so separated from my body, because the body has so much wisdom. It is so intelligent. It can't, it's been around, I don't even, depends on how long you want to say humans have been here, but this is a cosmic being. It has the intelligence of the universe as this. And we are so in our society caught in our heads and thinking that this is our intellect, but it's like the primal wisdom of your body won't lie. So once you start to create that relationship and start to listen to it and just actually begin to pick up on, what does it tell? Oh, I'm feeling unsafe. Oh, why did, and then it's like questioning it as well. So it's like we have a primal biology that is our guidance system, always there. Not that it always has to lead us, but just knowing, oh, okay, my nervous system, I'm feeling like anxious, or oh, I don't want to be around these people. And so it's just like, it's just learning to listen, learning to work with also regulating your nervous system as well is like huge, because we're living in a way overstimulated environment and society. Like our biology has not changed in the last tens of thousands of years. It itself is still experiencing life the way it would back then. It still thinks a tiger is around the corner at nearly all times, but it's not a tiger. It's just someone you don't feel comfortable with, or it's just too many cars in traffic. We have in our intelligence has changed, like our intellect has changed. Our way of communication has evolved us in the way that we are, our brains, but on the sense of our body, the body's the same. So it's really learning stuff like that. It's learning, like, how do I move about life? What is sending me messages, and how and why? And bit by bit, you're hearing more, you begin to maybe do more actions, you take a little bit more courage, you're starting to know what feels good and not, and that's just a continuation, coming more and more into clarity of truth, of your own truth, your own wisdom, your own reclaiming of things, because we over our journey we give ourselves away in bits and we don't know who we are. So it's a constant kind of delayering to come back to like the essence of just what makes me happy, what's true for me, why am I acting this way, why am I making these choices, is that aligned? And so there's contemplation involved, and it includes solitude. I know this is becoming really long, there's so much to this, but having some space is the biggest bit to all of it. I'll finish there.
Well, I'm just going to make you go deeper, because I'm curious, Ruby, because with you having so much self-awareness and having so much clarity of yourself, or learning, it's an ongoing process, right? So
Never
not
ending.
to put too much pressure on you, and but it's and so for someone who might not be, or who might have inkling that they're not on the path that perhaps they can sense, or they're starting to feel a slight calling, but they haven't trusted themselves yet. They haven't taken action because they have friends around them that are still in the same crowds, or they're not sure of themselves. They're not sure if this is even a thing, what they're feeling or hearing. What are some examples of what you recognize in those moments of that you're off track, or that something else that you need to take action, or before you took action? What are some of those examples?
For sure. And look, that's like, for some aspects of my life, it's only recent. Like, the biggest things are only quite recent. But I would say first of all, creating space. First of all, having more space to be by yourself. because this is where we start to get a little bit more in touch. So whether that is going away for a week or something, or going away just for a weekend, just to start, and just be in your own field where you have intentions. It's like, oh, I'd like to have some journal prompts, just do some things to start to open up what maybe you can start to come in touch with. And I would say, in hindsight, not that this is the way I would always have addressed things, but with a playful curiosity instead of a fear, because the biggest thing that keeps us stuck or not listening is just the fear of feeling things, the fear of emotions. And even up until recently, this has been probably my most recent liberation, is actually allowing it all and even kind of welcoming what's there, because it's for your greater service. There's no point resisting or pushing anything away. It's not going anywhere. Just because you're going to keep yourself more busy doing this, or you're feeling maybe, oh, I don't know how I feel in this relationship or something, but you push it away, it's still there. It's actually even more there. It's actually just suppressed. And when you suppress things, first of all, not good for your health. This is why over time we start to get sick, we start to get burned out, we start to not be our alive, radiant self, is because there's things underneath the surface that we're just not allowing it to be and breathe and be with. And also on the energetic level too, it starts to kind of clog you up and create denser frequency, and so you are just moving through yourself in a way that's not in like its truest essence, I would say. But I would say welcome whatever is there with a curiosity, having the space. Just be really open to exploring whatever it is. Just see it with like, oh, there's messages here. I don't know what it is. Let me kind of feel into it. And it is taking a bit of courage, because if something's feeling a little bit unaligned or not right, it will bring things up, because it might be pushing a belief system, like around, say, a friendship group or a friend that you maybe not resonating with anymore, or a job that you're not resonating with, but that's going to maybe shift certain beliefs or certain ways that you're doing things. And it is really about actually just asking yourselves the questions, coming into like, it happens naturally, but we really need to allow it to happen. It's there to guide us. There is a guidance that's happening in the background, and it's just creating space to be open to starting to hear it and receive it.
And so how do you stay truly aligned and come back to yourself when you might be a little off track, especially in a world with overconsumption and over communication information?
Over everything. Yeah. Well, first of all, I'd say that you kind of need to know what you aren't to know what you are or who you are. So it really is its own evolution that we can't rush it either. And sometimes we can try to push, but it's then gonna like make us go in funny directions sometimes, or get caught up in something, or but what was I saying? Knowing what you aren't. Knowing what you aren't is through being in, like, nothing's wrong. There's no wrong situation. There's no mistake. In fact, all those things that don't feel good, or you look back thinking, oh gosh, that's actually where the gold is, because that's where you're learning the most, because of how uncomfortable or how unaligned it is. It's like, oh, now I have a something to base that off. And then it's like, in the hindsight stuff, is that's where you put the pieces of the puzzle together. Like, okay, now I know more. I have more data from my experiences, from from being in scenarios that, you know, maybe suited me at that point, but, you know, we're always shifting and evolving. And so, like, I would just say, like, experience it all. Like, nothing is wrong. Anything that feels like it's not wrong is like, oh, there's a lesson in this. Where's the message? Like, life is reflecting to us all the time, but we just need to look around to understand what is what is it that I can receive from this right now.
Mm.
And so that's kind of where you go, is like, when you know what things aren't, is like you can then start to know what is actually more resonant and what feels good, and really learning about understanding, like, for me, over even just again recently, it's like, what makes me feel the best, like what feels good in my body, what feels safe, what feels what people like, what do I want? And that's such a huge question, because sometimes we're just moving through motions, and sometimes we end up just being somewhere we're like, how am I here right now? It's like, that's why it's so important to create space, so you can kind of contemplate a little bit, have a bit of a look, like stepping away a little bit, and like being more observing of things, rather than just too caught up in what life is presenting, and the storylines that we get caught in, and the narrative of, I'm this, I'm that, I'm la 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 la. When we can just kind of remove all of that, we have the ability to see a little bit clearer.
Mm.
So yeah. Does that help? Does that answer much of it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, there's no right or wrong answer. It's mainly from your insight of what's
Yeah.
helped you, and perhaps this could share light to someone in that moment that could help them as well in where they are.
Yeah.
And then from there, it was really, I want to really learn more about your Zensi experience as well. And I know you were getting towards this, and then I brought you back here because I thought it would be important to share your experience on this as well. And going back to Zensi, so then when we had when you explained how you incorporated a lot of these wellness experiences into Zensi as well, what are some of the practices that you offer at Zensi?
Yeah. Yeah. Just before, I'm just going to retract, because I have one last thing I think would be really helpful, actually, as advice,
Mm-hmm.
um, is to engage with people that inspire you, or
Mm.
people that you feel have insight or wisdom that you can start to tap into to help you, like, you know, being in community, like you mentioned at some stage,
Mm.
even like being in, going to yoga classes and starting to listen to the messaging behind things, or listening to um, someone on YouTube that really kind of opens up ideas for you. I think that's a really, really great place as a support in that journey, is like, go to others that have wisdom that resonate for you particularly. So yeah, I just wanted to add that on, because I think that was a really, really big, really supportive part, is learning from others too.
Mentors. Yeah.
Yeah. But so for Zensi, in regards to what we offer in different experiences, you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different practices, different experiences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Zensi as itself, the ethos of it is to experience what it means to live mindfully. We wanted to create this kind of idea that it's not like we have our wellness life, you know, we do our wellness things and then we have our life. It's like, it's a way of living, it's a way of actually experiencing and being. And it is an art form, mindful living. It's like living with very conscious intention. It's a growing practice of becoming more and more into the present moment. And how do you do that? And the more and more we can be in presence, rather than thoughts, the things of either side, past, future, wherever the timelines go, it allows us to be in our experience of life. And so that's what Zensi was created to kind of plant those seeds. And so in in the way of doing that, that's why nature is very much a part of, first of all the materials, and bringing and kind of like merging the in and the out with how it's been, how we formed it. But also there's just I can speak from being the one that chose every single detail in there. I don't know how many brain hours I would have spent with it. I can't even fathom. But really considering how can this bring people more into their presence, like even having certain messaging, like a little note left in the wardrobe, or just the experience of what would it be like being in the shower, and how does that make you feel with your senses. So it's a very like sensory experience as well, and then bringing it into the different modalities and different things to do there. It depends if you're, say, hiring the space and wanting to bring some services in. There's obviously there's yoga of all different types. There's sound therapy, so crystal balls, breath work, ice baths, meditation. There's like it's there to be whatever experiences that you want to have, so you can kind of tailor it to what you want. And then the place is used more so right now at this stage for other facilitators coming in and running their own themed retreats, whether it's which has been really popular, which is women's circles, which is so transformational. Being able to have a space to feel safe, to feel heard, and to connect on something so much deeper, because I think as women we also have been taught to be guarded and like against one another, because when women come together it's extremely powerful. And so the women's spaces have been really beautiful, and doing workshops and just opening conversations, I think, has been in all the settings. We want Zensi to be a place of deepening a relationship with the people you're with, but deepening it with yourself by having that silence, that spaciousness, that intentional moments of stillness where you're just being rather than being a human doing. You're able just to be there, be a human being.
Oh, that's really nice. And so then you've created a safe space essentially, and it's a work of art. It looks incredible. The detail of the interior design is phenomenal, and yourself and Ray have worked wonders to create such a masterpiece. And to have this in our own backyards is such a gift. So it's amazing what you have both created with your own hands. And so I love that. And I love that you're being involved in the community, and that you are bringing more presence into spaces like this, because it is important for us to have moments of pause in our day-to-day.
Vital. Otherwise we're just
Yes.
dysregulated, and we're so if you don't stop, like I love nature, just teaches us so many things. I just remember I was in the Amazon some months ago and just looking at the monkeys hanging on the trees, and I'm like, animals are just hanging around. Yeah, they get things done and whatever, but we are just like doing. And it's like, we are part of nature. We aren't here just to be doing. Like, gosh, that's tiring. It's tiring. And I think everyone is underlying exhausted, I feel. Otherwise people are surviving on caffeine. We're surviving on just too full as well. So we really want Zensi to be like just an opportunity, an invitation to see how important it is to pause. If we don't, life is just kind of goes, and all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, it's been 5 years and what have I done? I've worked a lot, I've gone on like some big holidays, but then I'm just back into like that still dysregulated system. So it's just about questioning how we live and what we want to experience, and how we want to experience life.
Yeah. And so what do you think, what drives you through life? So we live on a day-to-day, and then there are moments of realization, and then there are moments of experience, and then just very briefly, when you and I had spoken about this before our call tonight, And we touched on having a higher power or some consciousness of how we receive messaging and how you live through or how you live your day to day with some for something that's beyond ourselves or with something that's beyond ourselves. So how has this experience been for you, Ruby, and how does this drive you through your life and your day to day?
So what I'm hearing from this feels like underlying a really, really big question. Is what I'm hearing is like, what is the purpose a little bit of like what we're doing? Like, what are we doing? That's what I'm hearing from this. And I have no answer.
How do you drop in a question like this? It's just such a big
what I'm coming to, and this is an ever-changing feeling based on where I'm at on different days. Some days it's this, other days it's like, what am I? But I think it's up to us. There is no wrong. It's up to ourselves to decide what we want to make purposeful. And I think that's where the journey of like self-discovery, because I don't know how spiritually deep we want to go with this, but yeah, what was I going to say? Like, it's like we come here and we've come here and we've kind of forgot, and I feel like it's a journey of re-remembering something that is so much bigger than us. And so I feel like as we go on this kind of like healing journey and start to become more conscious and just really on that path, I think it becomes something, for me personally, I can just say, something far greater, where you start to connect to something that's much more bigger than just you. You know, you have the I, the ego. This is me. This is the structure of who I think I am based on what people say, what I have done, what hobbies I have, all the things. And then you start to realize that, oh, I'm also I'm the same as other humans. We are all humans here. And so you start to feel like there's a deeper connection to everything. And then you realize that you are also this part of the universe. And so, well, that's what it is for me anyway, is realizing there is a greater force above us and which is also us. And so like that, yeah, there's no answer of purpose. I think it's what in our natural blueprint, in our own soul, like what feels of service to us, that we're not and service to something greater. I think, like, for me, there comes a point where I feel like, how can I serve, or how can I do something for the world that's also doing something for me? And like, it's this beautiful giving and receiving, and something that's expansive. For me, I feel like, you know, the universe is just wanting to experience itself in lots of different ways. So the universe experiencing itself through you is it's experiencing such a unique thing. We're all so unique. We all have the set different thumb and fingerprints, like, yet we are all the same. So I think it's just like we create our own purpose, and it's just the experience of finding what that might mean. And that is ever changing as well. Like, what I thought purpose was 3 years ago is very different to what it is now, because I'm coming into what feels even more true for me, or what inspires me right now. And I think it's also, it comes to a point where it's doing something that is greater than you.
Yeah.
I think that's what, right now, that's my concept anyway.
Well, why is that important? So, I mean, we can do things for our own selves. It could be and when I say selfish, I don't mean it in a negative frame.
Yeah.
More from a could be maybe, so it could be from a place of, I just want to do it for myself, and there's no right or wrong answers here. It's more just a discussion of where, like, why is that important to you, of having to do something beyond yourself?
Well, just to touch on as well with that, like the side of the selfishness, I feel like that we've been so conditioned, and this is why there's so much like pleasing or like going outwards to care so much about how others are feeling and like minimizing actually what we want in ourselves, because what we want is like it creates kind of like a sovereignty and a power. Um, and I think there's a lot of reclaiming of that power. But if we're serving ourselves, that's actually feeling aligned and true and actually our own evolution, that's also serving others. Because the more that you like, the highest vibration, they've proven, there's studies now, it's not love, it's authenticity. Because we're authentic, we are our own unique beings. Yet we're all the same, but we are also we are unique. No one else will have our life experience or who what we've done or who we are. And so yeah, I think, you know, us following up and everyone, I feel like as a collective we all play different roles, and that's where like I love, which we've touched on previously, like human design and knowing your own unique blueprint. But yeah, going back, just to go back to it, I'm kind of jumping around, but being driven by authenticity, and then and come to a frequency where you're led more by a higher frequency, which is our hearts, and coming out of all the intellect and back into a heart space. This is kind of where you're wanting to do something because you're feeling connected to something more than you as well. Like when we can start to feel safe and expansive and open, we generally want to make others feel good, not to make ourselves feel a certain way, but to do something for the world. And not everyone needs to do that. I'm not saying we all need to serve each other or whatever, but we all have we're all playing different roles in this, like this pie. That's the way I kind of see it.
Yeah, I love that. But how does one
Mhm.
be more of themselves?
Again, it's just like it's the own self discovery and playing around with what is truly me. So this is a huge thing when you start to go into like understanding your own psychology or your own actions or behaviors, is you realize a lot of your ego of this is the structure of me, is a lot of just coping mechanisms. It's just like your whole personality can be just a coping structure. For example, just to give one like simple thing that's here, is like someone that uses humor overly to get out of uncomfortable situations. And so that person is, oh, he's so funny. But like, oh, well, he's also actually just using that because he feels uncomfortable feeling other things. So you start to like, when you get to this point where you kind of like, who am I? When you start to like really consider your own, like your own actions, your belief systems, your choices. It's quite, that's where the dark night of the souls type of stuff starts to come in, because you get a bit lost of like, who am I? Which is all such a beautiful thing, because it's like a constant kind of like death rebirth, and it's like, as they say, like the onion, like you're peeling back layers and you find more stuff and you find more stuff, and some things can be a bigger layer, but you start just to move through it as you just become closer into like your own innate self, which is when you think about who you were as a child, perhaps before you were told that you are too much or that you need to be more, whatever it may be. Like, for example, if you were to think of yourself as a kid, like think about the things that light you up the most, whether it was doing something for someone else. Was it being creative? Was it like, did you love like organizing things? And then like personality wise, for example, I was told a lot that I was too sensitive. And so you grow up thinking, I'm sensitive, I'm shy. And then you start like falling into that character of that person, and you just now live out what that is. Or someone says bits, like you might pick up that you think that you're not good enough. And so you're then constantly trying to prove all those things to prove you're good enough. And then you get to a point eventually where you're like, oh, I'm only doing that action because I'm trying to prove I'm enough. But what if I was enough? What does that mean about that action? What does that mean about what I think about myself? And so it's just like, it's a beautiful healing journey. Yeah.
When we strip away the human aspect and look at ourselves as stardust, and it's
Exactly.
just intertwined and so connected, and it's so beautiful, for example, that you and I have crossed paths and we're here right now and having this moment, this experience, because there's a lot of us figuring it out for ourselves and not knowing, and then there's a lot of things happen for a reason.
Yep.
So it's really unique and special how things work out the way that they do. So there was no message with that saying. It was just
the way things somehow cosmically happen. It's like, has someone planned this?
all with coincidences and deja vu, and it's just programming and just
the coincidences, you know. And when you start to really take on whether you are wanting to be open to the idea that there is no coincidence. If you told me that, 6 years ago or something, well, I probably wouldn't have resonated with that. I would have thought, well, no, logically, these things maybe it's just an overlay, and that person seemed to be there at that moment. That's all. But once you start to open up to what I would call like cosmic magic, just cosmic play, this thing that we can't really explain, the more and more you start to engage with that and be open to like the mystery of it, the more it continues, the more strange coincidences occur until a point where it's not nothing. It's just like, you're like, of course that would be there. Oh, okay, great. This is my sign. Like, you start to work with it and becomes more fun because you know that there is this, somehow there's this thing that's like guiding you, and you're supposed to speak to that person, and then it all just kind of does strange magic stuff in the background all the time for you.
I can't believe you randomly picked up a owl's feather today. Was it today on your walk?
Yesterday. Yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
It's very unusual for me to see an owl, first of all. So for you to have come across an owl feather, I thought that was quite interesting. Can I see it?
Yeah, of course.
It's beautiful.
It is really beautiful. I feel like when I started my Reiki course, actually, you open yourself up to these types of things. And I remember them saying, like, there might be certain symbols or things that start to come into your life, and it becomes some sort of messaging system or something that's like, and like you were explaining before about the red car, like, you think red car you start, then they're all around you. But feathers became a thing that came into my life literally from starting that Reiki course. And it's just like, you then go about logically, like, oh, well, I just looked down at that exact moment. But when things start to happen that many times, you then can't question it anymore. And you know that there is just something going on. And so feathers just capture me all the time. I'm very connected to things to do with birds and flight and that type of stuff. Like, I have flying dreams. My spirit animal, which came to me through ayahuasca, was an owl. And so I just know I'm very connected to the flying realm somehow. It sounds very to someone that some people might think that's strange, but that's just, sometimes you just start to pick up on things and feel certain ways. But yeah, coincidences, once you start to interact with them, they just continue so much. Like, even with numbers, for me, numbers are constantly following me to a point where it's just silly. Like, every time I'll finish a voice note, I finish it on 1 minute 1 or it's just like, even the other night, I never check my phone. I sleep with my phone outside of the room because of the electromagnetic field. I like to keep myself, just as far from tech where possible. And I have no idea, but I woke up at night, and for some reason, I just went to look at the phone, and it was 1:11 a.m. So it's just funny. It's just like, and it's just fun. You just have to have a laugh and be like, of course. But you can use it as a guidance system, because things start to become, when you actually start to work with it, oh, that person came to me in the coffee shop and mentioned that. How strange. And then it all relates to things. So it's a really interesting way to experience life, is through coincidences becoming non-coincidences.
Yeah, you're right. It just adds some spark into
Yeah,
what could be very ordinary. So I don't know if
yeah,
there's significance to 744, but I think there is. But I just looked at I'll write it down and have a look into it later.
yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Ruby. That was just so jam-packed with so much wisdom. So much wisdom. You are a sage of an owl, owl sage, and so much wisdom. And I'm really, really thankful for you just being so vulnerable and opening up to so many parts of your life. And I know there's only so much you can fit into a few minutes of time to share your entire life, and I'd love to learn more. But this was, yeah, I really enjoyed learning about you, and I'm sure people who are listening enjoyed seeing this side of you as well, because we often see one version of you which is presented either on social media or through your work. So thank you for being so personable on this call.
Thank you.
So what's your vision for Ruby Chapman now for the next 5 years? It's quite a long time, but what are your next steps, Ruby?
It's funny. It's this funny question, because my husband would laugh at this, because I have this thing about planning too far in advance. It's always caused a bit of just unease, because I guess of how much things can change and evolve so quickly. And I think experiencing that throughout, even just like I feel like a different person than even 3 weeks ago. So it's like, for me to try and envision so far, but also you are in this physical world that you do need to somewhat plan things, somewhat. So yeah, I feel like the next 5 years is going to be really just beautiful, really, really beautiful. We've actually signed contracts to be doing another Zensi. I don't know if I mentioned this already or not, but we're doing another one. It's like we're having another baby. It feels huge. It feels like jumping out of a plane. So there is a whole spectrum of emotions and thoughts and things around it. It's like, because this one is bigger. We've had investors come on, so it's more of a. I haven't yet come up with the terminology, but it's more of a resort, like a holistic resort. So it's going to be offering so much more opportunities and potentials and things. Like even yesterday, I was like, oh, we're going to run holistic events. Just ideas come, and I'm like, how cool would that be to have a whole day of putting together like a timetable of different experiences. There can be markets, there can be things, people can stay on the property. So it's just like there's so much potential, and it's driven by wanting to just have people tap in and plant seeds and start to just like my own personal journey, like it's just little bits that you pick up, and certain things stick with you, or certain things enlighten you in a certain way that just continue your own process. And so yeah, we're starting that Zensi. We're going to be starting pretty much now, going to start the design journey, which I'm so excited for, because I haven't been doing any design since we finished the last one. And I've been given free reins to just go as wild as possible. So I'm like, wow, okay, this is going to be epic. And we really want it to be like, I don't imagine anything like this has been in Australia. So, we want to really bridge sacred rituals, like coming back into the sacredness of intentions with everything. It's going to be so intentional. We want to bring back the wisdom of traditions with Australian culture as well, the wisdom of the land, learning more about our cosmic intelligence, learning about, you know, just the magic of things, sacred geometry. Like, we want to be a place of education to help, just to see what that can do for other people. But it's obviously going to come through a portal of like complete luxuriousness, you know, extremely about experience, and all the different types of services we're going to provide. And yeah, I haven't started the journey yet, but it's going to be really cool. So that's going to take up the next couple of years.
The next 5 years at least.
No, well, because Ray is very, my husband's very he's very effective at what he does. So it should, once we start, it should, the build, it should take maybe like under a year and a half to be built.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, yeah. But aside from that, like in my own personal process, kind of just keep doing what I'm doing. Like, I want to create more. I want to continue to explore what wants to be created through me. I'm like, as I've shared with some of my poetry with you, or just yeah, really learning to allow myself to be seen more, to share. Like, these exact scenarios are so like, yeah, so special to me, because this is where I want myself to continue to go, and can continue to push against those edges to find more and more freedom. Like, I just want to live in a way that is free internally, and to help others in whatever way that feels organic and true to do so from my own end, whether it's in energy work, whether it's through being my own medicine of just sharing vulnerably, being true to myself, continuing whatever that is. I just want to keep, I don't want to leave the mountains here. I love it here so much, here in Peru. So I know I will definitely be coming back here because it's way too resonant. So I just, yeah, travel, pick up more information, do some other random crazy things out there, and create more, like, support the world and coming more into love, really.
I love that.
5 years. That's a good 5 year plan.
Between now and 5 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
let's tap back in 5 years and see what's happened.
we could definitely do that. And so how can people support you on your journey?
Well, first I would say is, yeah, please connect with me through social media. So first of all, to add Zensi would be great. And I'm only starting to work on my own personal profile to start to align it into who is this person I'm wanting to show on social media. So that's in its own little evolution. That's only kind of started to really show itself. But adding me on my personal would be great. And like, I want to help people. Like, through helping, it helps me too. It's like a beautiful circle. And so if anyone feels inspired to just want to start a conversation, please do so. I'll be sharing more of like writing and blogs and stuff like that as well. So if anyone feels connected to anything I've shared, more of my topics will be on things that we've just discussed all today. And so, yeah, and really following Zensi's journey, because there's going to be so much more offerings to come. So in the months to come, once I'm back in Australia, we are going to be actually creating our own retreats that we're going to be hosting. For example, I think we haven't put it in yet, but doing like a silent retreat in January, women's experiences, like offering some really, really cool things around learning how to eat mindfully and live mindfully, and what that can look like. So yeah, like keep following us, and if you feel called to join and be a part of things, like, I want to collaborate with people. I'm inspired by others, and I want to help. So yeah, I guess that's a few avenues.
Beautiful. And so if you're not following Ruby already, her Instagram is Ruby_with love. And Zensi's Instagram is at zensi.retreat. So you can follow both Ruby and Zensi Retreat through those handles. And Ruby, thank you so much for your time and generosity again. And it's been a pleasure. And I look forward to staying in touch and continuing this conversation when we do.
And I want to ask you, what is your 5-year plan?
What is my
To finish off? Tell me. Tell
Oh,
me,
good.
spill the beans. What's the vision?
Well, let me take a sip of my tea. My 5-year vision. I think from here I would be to continue speaking with people in this space, continue learning from other people, but also to work on building one pillar. So it's something that I'm very passionate about, and actually I'm interested in designing products with a focus on home and lifestyle. So one pillar, my brand, started with designing grip socks for a former Pilates, but really the focus is around accessories and objects that help to bring and enhance inner peace. So
Mm,
whether it be products for your home, for your lifestyle, for that support practices around well-being, mind, body, soul, these will be the products that I'll be bringing out. So I'm really passionate about this. And so continuing on as a designer, and
mm,
I will continue in this space in podcasting. I really love speaking with people, learning about people's why. I love connecting with people on a deeper level. I've always been a very deep person, and people would find it really weird when I would have a deep conversation during a very casual
yeah,
moment, and I'd be very socially awkward because I would be really bad at
small
small
talk.
talk.
I fully get you. Yeah.
So here we are creating a
Here we
platform
are talking all deep cosmic things. Yep.
for those who want to listen, and if you don't, that's
Exactly.
okay. But
Exactly. 100%. You attract and the people that are wanting to hear a certain message, or that it's at some stage not aligned, but some sort of thing sticks. And it could be even just one sentence that you've shared, that I've shared, and it just opens something up. And so, yeah, I'm sure you have that as well, like throughout your own journeys of like, someone's mentioned something, you've had one type of experience, and like from there it's shifted something. So yeah, the work of communicating and podcasting and sharing is like, I think that's why there's so much of this now, is like the world's shifting. We want to connect, we want to open up conversations, we want to get to know one another on different layers. So yeah, it's really special, important work. And I'm so glad that I've been able to do this with you. And I feel like there's so much more I could probably do 10 hours with you. So we might need to do more as time goes.
yeah, let's touch back in 5 years' time, Ruby.
Exactly. Re-report.
It'll be much sooner than that, I'm sure. But
Yeah, definitely.
oh, well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's tuned in for this episode. And let us know your thoughts in the comments. And we'd love to hear from you. And again, reach out to Ruby if you feel called to. Good night.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Appreciate this so much. Thank you. Thanks,
My
guys.
pleasure.